We are a river city, a bold city, the First Coast, a place to create and to belong. Here, the sun shines a little brighter, and so do the people. We share a love for our region, a pride for JAX, and a passion for the beautiful game, dedicated to giving everyone a sporting chance. Together, we will elevate soccer and sport in our community by lifting every voice. We are Sporting Club Jacksonville. We are Sporting JAX.
Hello and welcome into the Sporting JAX Report. I'm Cole Pepper. Coming up, a closer look at the Champions League with the semifinals now set. Plus, we catch up with head coach Stacey Balaam as she begins her work toward the USL Super League's team kicking off in August. And we hear from a local high school star named the Player of the Year in the state. But let's start with one of the components of putting the team together. Over the course of the last several weeks, Sporting JAX has been announcing the names of young men and women who have agreed to play with the USL League 2 and USLW League teams. These are pre-professional teams made up of college-age and younger players who want to test themselves against the top talent from around the world. On the USLW Women's League side, it's particularly interesting to follow some of the players as they try to impress head of soccer Mark Warburton and head coach Stacey Balaam, trying to land a spot on the USL Super League professional roster. These players have all had success at the college level, and as Warburton told me this week on our radio show, there is a big step up to come if they make it to the pros.
You see some very confident players leaving college because they've invariably been at the top of the class. I'm saying this very respectfully, but they've been big fish in a slightly smaller pond. But the jump to the pros is very, very different. You go from a 4-month season to a 10-month season. You have to deal with the demands, the expectation, the media, etc. And you're also faced with a different dressing room. You're dealing with 20-plus lady players who are equally as competitive and keen to impress and grab a starting shirt. So you have many different pressures, Cole, to deal with. And I think you can talk to players and men alike about that transition, but they've got to experience it themselves and deal with it.
The USLW League kicks off next month. All the home matches will be played at Mandarin High School. First home match is set for June the 3rd. We now welcome in Mauricio Ruiz. Time for our USL Championship Game of the Week. And what a finish we have in this one as Phoenix Rising hosted Detroit City FC. To Arizona we go. And you've got Phoenix coming off handing the first loss of the season to San Antonio last week, looking to build some momentum. Detroit and the White Kids found themselves in a hole in the first half. Phoenix on the attack. Gerald Margarita with a cross to Colin Smith with a beautiful header right here on the back post. Phoenix takes a 1-0 lead. They would lead by that count through halftime. Second half, more from the home team. Darius Johnson on the run out, his shot off the post, but he gets it back and finds Hope Avieu, who slots it past the keeper. 2-0 Phoenix, and the fans in the desert are loving it. It would remain 2-0 until the 87th minute. Detroit trying to keep hope alive. Reese Williams out wide. Darren Smith making a back post run, and Detroit has some life for the first time in the game. It's 2-1. No time to waste for Detroit. 2 minutes later, it's Williams to Smith again, this time along the ground, and we're level at 2. It has been quite a finish, nearing the final moment of regulation. Jay Chapman sends it ahead to Jaceel Cedeno from the edge of the box. 3 goals in 4 minutes to come back and win. What a game. What a comeback for Detroit City. Mauricio, this is the kind of performance that can influence the rest of the season.
Yeah, Cole, I think it depends a lot on which side of the bench you're standing on, because I think for Detroit City, absolutely positive. If they can carry this last-minute heroics into future games when they might be in a similar situation, I think this is going to have a long-term impact for them, especially as you kind of talk about going into playoffs and knockout, stage games. I think it'll be a huge impact. Not so much for Phoenix Rising. I think this can eventually have a very short-term, these are pros, they'll get over it, but a short-term negative impact on if they're ever up again, and they hope to be, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, the win is never secure in their case. And playing at home in front of the home crowd to lose like that, I think that's going to leave a bit of a bit of a scar.
Right. Let's take a look at the USL Championship standings. Starting in the West, where Monterey Bay unbeaten in their last 5, only 1 loss on the season through 6 games so far. They're atop the standings with 13 points. San Antonio and New Mexico right there. New Mexico really starting to play well. 4 straight wins at the top of the table. Looking at the Eastern Conference standings, Loudoun United atop the table, 5 wins and a loss. Lou City yet to lose. They've drawn a couple and have a game in hand and sit there with 11 points. And Detroit City, on the strength of the comeback, also with 11 points so far. At the bottom of the table, it's been a rough start to the year for Hartford Athletic. No wins through 4, and they lost a game, at least temporarily, postponed due to ice on the pitch. All right, there's also another competition going on right now that has plenty of eyes. The U.S. Open Cup just completed third-round play this week. 11 USL Super League teams advanced to the 4th round, and Mauricio, that's when the MLS squads will join the bracket as well. The MLS teams that mostly didn't make the playoffs last year. Mal, what are you expecting in the next round?
Well, cool. I think the interesting thing is how teams are approaching the U.S. Open Cup. Obviously, we knew last year there's a lot around it with MLS teams trying to boycott it and U.S. soccer stepping in a little bit. And it sounds like we're back on track, not fully there, but it's starting to look like the old league again, the old competition. I think the prize money and more than that, the opportunity to make the CONCACAF Champions League. I think that position is so crucial. And if you can be a USL Championship team, which has never happened before, to win and get that reward of competing in a CONCACAF Champions League, I think that's something you can put a lot of effort behind. So I do expect a lot of USL Championships teams putting their roster together to compete against MLS teams in these next stages and so forth and so on. Last year we had Indy 11 make the Final Four. I would expect a couple more teams to make a deeper run this year.
Well, meanwhile, there's another competition going on with an awful lot of interest. The Champions League semifinals are now set. We'll see Inter Milan against Barcelona in one semifinal and Arsenal and PSG in the other. What do you expect from these semifinals?
Oh, I mean, those are giants of the game, right? Inter Milan, getting back the Italian teams in Champions League. They've had a lot of success in the past, not so much recent, in recent times, if you would. I think there's a lot of buzz around Arsenal and the seasons that they've had, and they just haven't been able to come together at the end, really finish strong. The Premier League is out of range. Liverpool's got that in the bag. So is this the season for Arsenal? Did they make that final push to get that trophy for Mikel Arteta? That's done such a good job. But Cole, I got to give Barcelona the favoritism here. I mean, they're out of the teams that are here now, they're the only team that Champions League it's mandatory for them, and they haven't acquired that in a couple of years. Real Madrid, especially internally in Spain, have that nod as the biggest Champions League winners of all time. So for Barcelona, this means a lot. I don't know that it means as much for the other teams. PSG, they almost failed again against Aston Villa. I mean, Aston Villa put a scare in them at Villa Park. They're dangerous, but I mean, I would love to see a Barcelona-Arsenal final, to be honest. And I would love to see Arsenal take it all the way, but I think it's going to be easier said than done.
All right, well, the Champions League final will come up on May the 31st. 2 legs of semifinals between now and then. Let's now catch up with the head coach of Sporting JAX. Stacey Balaam has had a lot to do, both personally, moving to a new city, and professionally, getting ready for the club's first training camp in July. I asked her what she's been able to accomplish so far.
Yeah, it's been a productive month, I should say, from listing a house in Tennessee to trying to buy a house in Jacksonville, Florida, and then, speaking with agents, speaking with players, constantly on the phone with Mark, trying to get to know my staff. And so it's been a productive month, but it's been very, very busy.
What are the things that have been keeping your focus here as you get things started?
Well, I mean, obviously putting the team together, the squad. You know, the W League is about to start, so the Summer League is about to go ahead, and to have some visibility there is really important, and to see if there are any players that will slide over potentially. And then, you know, just getting a pulse on the academy and seeing what's coming through there, and yeah, just having that presence and visibility in the community, and seeing how much of a fan base we're getting right now.
Stacey also said she's been finalizing her staff, so we look forward to meeting her assistants in the near future. Season tickets are now on sale for Sporting JAX inaugural USL Super League season, kicking off in August at Hodges Stadium at UNF. Tickets start as low as $10 per game for students and go up to the field seats and premium hospitality. Join the movement and be a part of the first professional women's team in Jacksonville. Go to sportingjax.com or call 904-863-KICK for more information. Still to come, Becky Burleigh joins us to take a closer look at the women's game. That's straight ahead as the Sporting JAX report rolls on. With the USL Super League second half of the season well underway, a reminder you can catch every game of the season streaming on Peacock. 3 games tonight. Dallas Trinity hosting Fort Lauderdale United at 5, Brooklyn FC hosting Lexington at 6, and Spokane travels to Carolina Ascent at 7:30. Every game all season long streaming on Peacock. Let's go to the highlights from the past week of the USL Super League. Let's start in the nation's capital with DC hosting first place Carolina in a midweek game. Second half, Riley Parker's cross goes off Mia Corbin to Sarah Tricoli, who puts it in. 1-0 Carolina win. Tampa Bay hosting Lexington. This one is an avalanche of goals. 36 minutes, Sydney Nacello gets it started. There's the first one. Then 6 minutes later, Tampa Bay Sun at it again. Jordan Listro sets up Carly Gimona, who chips the keeper for her 7th of the year. Then, first half stoppage time, Cecily Nielsen, the 3rd Sun goal. Then in the closing minutes, Hannah Keene puts it away. Tampa Bay Sun wins 4-1 at home over Lexington. You like goals? Have some more. Carolina Ascent hosting Brooklyn. Started modestly. Taylor Porter setting up Jenna Butler for the header in the 18th minute. Then, second half, a downpour. 51st minute. Addison Merrick out in front. Look at this angle. Puts it away. It's 2-0. 65th minute, Jillian Aguilera on the free kick. This one is a beauty. Oh, unstoppable there. Then 4 minutes later, Riley Mattingly sets up Audrey Harding. It's 4 for Carolina, and they're not done. Neither were the light shows. 80th minute off a corner, the ball caroms around, up into the air, headed back, and then Chloe Hilton makes it 5. 5 goals for Carolina and a clean sheet and a big win over fading Brooklyn. Fort Lauderdale hosting DC Power. DC up 1-0 until this. Off the corner, Felicia Knox floats it. Jasmine Hamid puts it away. 1-1 draw. And more goals. Spokane hosting Dallas Trinity scoreless until Mackenzie Weinert crosses to Allie Cook for the goal to give the Zephyr a 1-0 lead. 2 minutes later off a corner, Dallas can't clear it, and Sydney Cummings takes advantage. It's 2-0 Spokane, and why not one more? Katie Murray gives Spokane a 3-0 lead. 16 goals in 5 games last week in the USL Super League. What a week if you like goals being scored. Now, that leads us to the standings. Here's how they look as of the moment. Carolina Ascent have ascended to the top, 40 points. They're 4 points clear and have won 4 straight in the USL Super League. Dallas, Brooklyn, and Fort Lauderdale right now are in position to be in the top 4 and make the postseason, but it is tight. From Brooklyn in 3rd place to Spokane in 6th place, just a 2-point margin. Spokane, the only team in the league not to lose a match in their last 5. You go back to March the 19th when they beat Tampa Bay Sun 2-1. They've had 4 wins and a draw. They are the only team in the league without a loss in their last 5 games. DC Power and Lexington down at the bottom on 16 points. And now we welcome in Becky Burleigh. Becky, let's first talk about An interesting comment made this week by Lindsay Heaps, the U.S. women's national team captain. She said that one of the reasons why some top American players are choosing to play in Europe because of the NWSL salary cap. The top stars, if they head to Europe, does that allow for the Super League to close the gap a little bit?
Well, I think you're right. It always trickles down. So if those players leave, then the next layer of players is probably at the moment going to play in the NWSL, although I think that's going to change as things progress. And then USL is going to be able to close that gap because now the teams that have those star players that have departed are looking at players who maybe don't have the same name recognition, maybe haven't had the same experiences. And I think there's where there's some opportunity for the USL in that happening.
All right, well, let's look at the USL Super League now. Brooklyn was once on top. Now they're in free fall. They fired their coach. A little bit surprised at the turnaround here?
Yeah, there's some real thoughts around, what is going on in that locker room because they were on top for so long. And yes, other teams made moves at the break where Brooklyn made less moves, but probably not to the extent that you would expect the free fall that you mentioned to occur. And, one of the things I think about when you see more blowouts like 3-0, 4-0, 6-0 is like, has that coach lost the locker room? And I don't know that. So that's total speculation. And then what happens next? Because to try and maintain as an interim, maybe there's a new coach bounce. So maybe there's a little bit of a push for the playoffs with that. But to be in a position to make the playoffs and let your coach go at that same time, man, that's a bold choice.
It does seem awful quick to make a move like this in the first year. I mean, maybe something happened that precipitated the move, but boy, it is a rough trend.
Yeah, and it's not a helpful thing, right? We've talked about the NWSL and the turnover in coaches and how that's probably hindered the league in a good bit. And we just don't want that pattern to follow into the USL. And I get it. Like when you have a startup, there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be bumps, and maybe even there's going to be some personnel choices that weren't a good fit from the start. I just hope this is not a trend. It's just a growing pains of the first year of the league.
All right, Becky, thank you. If you signed up for season tickets right now for the USL Super League season, you'll receive a limited edition inaugural season scarf. Be a part of the first pro women's team in Jacksonville history. Go to sportingjax.com or hit that QR code on your screen for more. Still to come, our youth soccer spotlight. We celebrate another state player of the year from our area. That's next as the Sporting JAX report rolls on. In the coming weeks, Sporting JAX will be unveiling the inaugural kit, but you can already get official Sporting JAX merchandise from shirts and hats to sweatshirts and scarves. Head to sportingjax.com/shop or hit that QR code on your screen now to get your official club gear today. Time now for the Youth Soccer Spotlight presented by the Bearded Pig Barbecue. Today we're hearing from the second of two local soccer stars to earn State Player of the Year honors. Bartram Trail's Brooke Gosse had a big year for a championship team. As the Bears were winning another state title, Gosse scored 20 goals and assisted on 15 others. One of 11 seniors on the team, she was surprised when she found out that she'd been named the 6A Player of the Year.
I was in my kitchen. I was making myself like a late lunch, and my mom is in the office. She's like back here, and she's like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "What?" Like I thought something happened. She's like, "You just won 6A Player of the Year." I was like, "Oh," the stove was still on, and I just like started like celebrating. I was like, "Oh my God, like no way." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I like asked to see her phone and stuff, and she showed me, she sent me the article. I like read through it. I was like, "This is crazy. Like this is not anything like I would have expected, but it's definitely something I feel like I worked for, like to earn." But I know I was just really excited. I can't wait to get to the banquet. So I'm really excited to like relive this moment with my team and celebrate with them one last time, especially with the ring on our hand. And overall, I mean, yeah, there's 11 seniors, but without everyone else, without all, I think there's 24, without all 24 of us, like we would not have been able to win.
I felt like she just had her best year this year. She was able to, not only score the 20 goals, but I think the 15 assists was like such a huge part of that too, because she was such a contributor all over the field, whether scoring goals or, assisting.
Well, it won't be long until the teams are back to work preparing for next season. For now, the high school season can take a little bit of a breather until next school year. For more on Sporting JAX and the world of soccer, join Mark Warburton, Stacey Balaam, and me every Tuesday night at 6 on 1010XL. It's the Coaches Show presented by Sporting JAX. You can listen on air or online on demand at 1010XL.com. And be sure to join Mauricio Ruiz, Becky Burleigh, and me every Thursday night at 6 for the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour. We cover the entire soccer world, including Sporting JAX and the USL. Thursday nights at 6 on AM 930 Fox Sports Radio Jacksonville or the iHeart app. Still to come with the Premier League looking ahead. We've got plenty to discuss. That's straight ahead as the teams charge for the finish in the Prem. Sporting JAX Report rolls on. You can watch the Sporting JAX Report every Saturday at noon on NBC 12 most weeks. That's immediately before Premier League Soccer on NBC. You can also find us on demand on First Coast News Plus and the Sporting JAX YouTube channel. Coming up after we're done, it's Aston Villa facing Newcastle United. This is an important game for both of these clubs who are trying to secure spots in Europe for next season. Both are playing well, having won 4 straight for Villa, 5 straight coming into this match for Newcastle. Mauricio, this could be a pivotal game with far-reaching ramifications.
Yeah, Cole, as you mentioned, 2 teams that are absolutely on fire right now. Newcastle winning midweek and getting to the weekend. I mean, right now, their championship is getting to top 5, right? I mean, if you can get 5 or 4, knowing those are secure Champions League spots for next year, that you might as well be winning a trophy, because the money compensation that comes with that and the opportunity to keep recruiting players that want to play Champions League football, especially for a club like Aston Villa and Newcastle that have just kind of been emerging into want to be considered the top 5. And we said it for a long time. In the Premier League, there's no such thing as a top 5 anymore. Nottingham Forest are trying to get in there. Brighton are trying to get in there, especially when Man U and Tottenham have vacated those spots. They're leaving the door open for teams like Newcastle and Aston Villa and West Ham's of the world to come in. So that's a huge game. I got Aston Villa. Aston Villa got a lot of confidence after the Champions League run that they had against PSG. And I give Aston Villa the nod to secure one of those top 5 spots.
All right, you say that, but Newcastle United has been on a roll. They were in 12th place on December the 14th, and they've climbed all the way up to 3rd in the Premier League since, winning 12 of their last 17 matches. Hey, stay up to date with everything that's going on with Sporting JAX by following us on social media, on X, on Instagram, Facebook, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and on TikTok for the very latest in your pro soccer team here in Jacksonville. There is more and more coming in the weeks to come as we get ready for the first USL Super League season in August. Big announcements still to come later this spring and into the summer. Thanks so much for watching the Sporting JAX Report. For Mauricio Ruiz and Becky Burleigh, I'm Cole Pepper. We'll talk to you next week.